Turn this thing off. All right. So I'm happy that you're here, that you decided to come to the miracle work today. It's really beautiful. So yeah, there's some real beautiful input today coming to us. One is coming from a friend of mine. He's I met him with master teacher, so to speak. We worked a lot together, and he teaches a course in miracles, and we're going to listen to him. So he's the guest speaker today. He's from Australia. So that's one essential part. The other one is we're looking at the body and a very specific part of the chapter 8, chapter 8. So the body as means or end. And so to make a start with that, the body as means of end, what does it mean? Well, like you can see the body as like a means way to do a thing, to do something with, and that supports a goal. Sorry for that. That supports a goal that you want to achieve, or letting it be in way of expression, for instance. So that is one thing. And okay, so I'm letting someone in. To see it as an end, it would be the thing where it's all about, like the ultimate goal of it being itself. Like this as you, as an identity, for instance, that would be an end. So the ego, human mind, thinking is, of course, this is you, and you're that thing, and so on. So that has a lot of consequences in how you perceive yourself and how you experience the things that are occurring. But today we're going actually to sink a level under it, a level under the physical body manifestation as such. We're sinking a little bit under it. And what I mean with that is, it is like it has to do with the impulses that you get, the impulses that you get from your subconscious or your supraconscious, like your high, lifted, elevated state consciousness, and you deciding where you're going to focus into. Like, am I going to tap into the frequency of body identification? Then I might interpret these impulses that I feel in a totally different way than if I come from, say, as a pure connection between my subconscious, my deeper impulses, and my divinity. Because they are linked. They are linked. And why is this so important? And why are we taking a look at that today? No, well, because you will hear this in the guest speaker's talk too, of Tony. Tony is his name. Like you will hear this too in Tony's way of expressing this. So my throat is doing a bit. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. So I'll take it easy with talking today. I don't know why this happens, but it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine. So we're taking a look at that because there's something there. So since this is a Course in Miracles, a miracle work session, a meeting, it is nice to have this absolutely clear, at least that you know where you choose between. Like, do you see these impulses that are coming up as, for instance, sexual impulses, because that's what we're first thinking about. Like, a desire from within that feels as a completely natural way of expressing yourself as a human being, like that's common, everyone has that, and blah 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 blah. You can have all kinds of ideas about it. It rules the world in a certain sense, and thinking that it needs to be expressed in this physical identity, misidentity, really, the physical misidentity, instead of seeing it what it truly is, which is a miracle impulse. And what is a miracle impulse? In fact, you could say like the impulse from below, from your subconsciousness, coming into your consciousness. It doesn't have to stay in physical awareness, but it's actually, say, an attempt to connect your heavenly consciousness together with that. And this is, of course, where you, in your humanness, look for, like you use this thing to come to the heaven on earth kind of experience, like looking for the right sexual partner, looking for satisfaction, in fact, gratification. You look for that in your physicality, and don't tell me that you don't. This is what is normal, natural in the human misidentity, in the human identity. But you forget that it's actually a miracle impulse. And what does a miracle impulse? We can read about that in the miracle principles. It's like it's a shift from the horizontal into the vertical plane. So that means it can shift you out of a temporary body awareness into a state of connectedness where you actually experience a joining with your brother without using a body, but having a deep sense of oneness. A deep sense of connectedness. Well, this is like, so that's the offering. And first it can be feel a bit like an intrusion. So don't take my sexual relationships away from me. And of course that's not what the purpose of this is. But to come to a conscious awareness about the possibilities, or about the origin of where the impulse is coming from, that it's completely natural to feel that, but it's not the end of the story. It doesn't need to be, say, expressed in the way that you might have become used to. Because the thing that happens with it, and I'll come back to that later. I'll just wait, otherwise I spoil all the things that I collected to share with you. So this was my little introduction. So my friend Tony, he makes podcasts, and I'm going to share one with you right now. It's about 20 minutes. It is based on the first chapter of A Course in Miracles, which is miracles and revelation and all this. It's like, but you will see it is a great. He's very clear in his expression, so you really might like that. And it saves my voice a little bit today, and I think that's great too. So, yeah, I'm going to set that up, and we're going to listen to that.
Hello, welcome to another Course in Miracles podcast. We're going to jump straight into A Course in Miracles here, looking at body identity, sex and awakening, and the nature of your physical relationships and the misperceptions that lead to the problems that you have with relationships in time and space. This from A Course in Miracles. Revelations induce complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. They represent the original form of communication between God and his sons. Before the intrusion of fire and ice made this impossible. So fire and ice would be the idea of the world you made. You've placed it as a barrier between you and the source of all creation. That's all. It should be noted that they involve an extremely personal sense of closeness to creation which man tries to find in sexual relationships. This confusion is responsible for the depression and fear which are often associated with sex. Sex is associated with a lack of love, but revelation is purely a love experience. Physical closeness cannot achieve this. As was said before, the subconscious impulses properly induce miracles, which are interpersonal and result in closeness with others. This can be misunderstood by a personally willful consciousness as an impulse towards sexual gratification. Revelation unites souls directly with God. The miracle unites souls directly with each other. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. It is essential because consciousness is a state which produces action, though it does not inspire it. Man is free to believe what he chooses. What he does attests to what he believes. The deeper levels of his subconscious always contain the impulse to miracles, but he is free to fill its superficial levels, which are closer to consciousness, with the impulses of this world and to identify himself with them. This results in denying himself access to the miracle level underneath. In conscious actions, then, his interpersonal relationships also become superficial, and miracle-inspired relating becomes impossible. So this is the nature of the miracle. It's going on. This is why A Course in Miracles starts with all these miracle principles, because it's trying to lay a foundation upon which you can rebuild your whole thought system. It's a very integral part to A Course in Miracles and how you come to terms with where it is you find yourself. You are in a body in time and space, consciousness. It's such a narrow band of awareness. There is so much going on underneath. Superconsciousness above, subconscious below. These are pressures which get pushed both downward and upwardly onto the conscious mind. And how you utilize those and how you react and respond become how you identify yourself in time and space, in this place, right here, right now. He goes on. This is Jesus in A Course in Miracles. Inappropriate sex drives or misdirected miracle impulses result in guilt if expressed and depression if denied. This is a really crucial part of your awakening experience. And you can look at it in terms of chakras, looking at it in terms of you as a conscious body in time and space are surrounded by light. And light is pushing in from the top and pushing up from the subconscious. These are miracle impulses. This is a miraculous energy that is asserting the pressure of universal, eternal, creative mind on you, because as you've circumscribed yourself, maintain a separate identity and willfully ignore the eternal reality that's going on all around you. And the reason that I'm wanting to talk about sex, because sex is that impulse that you believe that can tie you in a relationship to another person, an apparent someone outside of you. So you utilize your sexual relationships to justify an identity that is lacking. And when you don't find it in one partner, you move on to another partner. Let me read a little bit more about this. Sexual fantasies are distortions of perception by definition. They are a means of making false associations and obtaining pleasure from them. Man can do this only because he is creative. But although he can perceive false associations, he can never make them real except to himself. As was said before, man believes in what he creates. If he creates a miracle, he will be equally strong in his belief in that. The strength of his conviction will then sustain the belief of the miracle receiver. No fantasies, sexual or otherwise, are true. Fantasies become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent. The sex impulse is a miracle impulse when it is in proper focus. So for me personally, in my awakening experience, understanding the sexual impulse as a miracle impulse is extremely helpful. It is something that, while it doesn't alleviate the sexual impulse, it does at least give you the opportunity within your own mind to look at what is the purpose of it. What is it for? Now, the master teacher, who is my teacher, would say monogamy or celibacy. He also expressed there's nothing worse than a horny celibate. So the sexual act in itself is not harmful in terms of you in your awakening process. It doesn't make any difference. But somewhere it's always looking at the recognition of what is it for. Now this also swings back around to sedation, all of your needs to temper down the pressure that is being applied to you like a vice from above you and below you. It is the light of reality wanting you to return to the fullness of your awareness of who you are. That's an actual physical thing in your body association. And this is why we don't sedate ourselves. Because as a human being, of course you're going to sedate. The pressure and light and love of reality scares the absolute shit out of you. And you think you will lose yourself because you will, and you did. And yet you still find yourself here in this time and space. You cannot die to get out of this, and you cannot wish it away or will it away. All of reality is calling you to return to your natural state and to return to full communication with the source of all reality. And part of not sedating, and this is also sex as a use of sedating, most things in time and space can be used to sedate, to put off, to alleviate the pressure of where you find yourself. Altering your consciousness, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, are the main things, obviously, which we would not do. But any obsessive behavior will require you to look within your own mind and see the purpose that you've ascribed to it within your own mind. Because this is a universal experience, but the revelation is personal to you in the time and space where you find yourself, because we are not equal. We are not equal in time and space. This is part of the difference. This is why I need to do a podcast in the first place, because through expressing the mechanism of my own awakening and sharing the ideas and the concepts which helped expose me to a broader reference of myself, I am freed from my own illusions, as you are freed from yours, because you are free to believe anything you want. But as I believe in the miracle, that allows you to receive the miracle, because I do believe in the miracle. I do believe the miracle can do absolutely anything. So anytime I'm pushed up against, oh, this will never work, or there's no chance of this ever being successful, or any of those ideas, I'm reminded that the miracle is not limited in any regard. There is no big or small miracle. The miracle is going on all the time. The misperception is in you, in your body identification. Listen to this. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds much along the lines suggested very correctly here. Here it is. If perfect love casts out fear, and if fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love really exists. Therefore, if there is fear, it creates a state which does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Once again, the recognition within your own experience, right here, right now, that fear exists. Anything that is not perfectly loving is fearful. So in that recognition, you can ask for help. Stand still a moment. This is what the training is for. Stand still and ask for help and allow it to be changed, because all it is a misperception within your own mind. And as you allow the miracle to dissolve, to disappear the fear, the love becomes apparent. And that will be a real experience here in time and space within your own body identity. Man must contribute to his readiness here as elsewhere. The readiness for faith, as for everything else that is true, entails 2 steps necessary for the release from fear. Okay? Denial of fear in human terms is a strong defense because it entails 2 levels of error. That truth can be denied and the absence of truth can be effective. This is why the simplest way is to fall back into your fear, because the idea of you expressing that fear doesn't exist is really creating another level. It's creating a level of confusion where you bury the fear and push it down so that you don't have to deal with the fear. But nothing goes anywhere. The fear is still in your mind, and so it still has to be seen for exactly what it is. It's really nothing. And the fear that is raised gives way to the love beyond, and the fear is gone, but that is an action of your mind. There's some very detailed information in the Course in Miracles about the nature of your illusion and the complicated way in which you've layered, and I guess he expressed it earlier in the idea of you can fill in all these levels with as much as you want, and you can break down your identity into all sorts of socioeconomic and sexual and metaphysical, all of it, and identify yourself within those very thin bands of illusion. None of it's going to solve your problem. And this is why denying yourself things you want doesn't work, and gorging on everything does not work either. Until you start to look at the nature of what it is you're doing here in time and space and why you're doing it, there'll be no real freedom for you. That's just the fact of the matter. From a very personal level of experience, I've traveled the world. I have lived out of a backpack. I've taken copious amounts of all sorts of drugs and alcohol and abused myself and everyone around me. There is no solution in the world I made. And all I ever found was myself right back at the point of not knowing anything. And through the incursion of the miracle and through the grace of God, I was given an alternative. That alternative is A Course in Miracles. And that's what's being offered to you right now, an alternative. So it's not that anything is right or wrong, it's simply a case of what is it for. And this is going to be a major part of your awakening process, because you do think you're a body. You do have sexual relationships. You do think in terms of pleasure and pain found within the body. But because if you can find pleasure in the body, then you will also find pain. There is no getting around it. So I want you to be able to look at all of these things as you awaken in this time and space and know that there's nothing to be afraid of. It simply needs to be looked at head on in your own mind, in the privacy of your own thought process. Look at it. Look right at it. There's nothing to fear. And all of this occurs within your body identity. It doesn't matter whether you're gay, straight, black or white, Muslim, Jew, Christian. All of these aspects are included in this small reference of consciousness, time and space. So it makes no difference how you want to identify yourself personally within this dream sequence. It makes no difference whatsoever. And all of that can be included in be ready to listen, be willing to learn, and able to do. There is an action. If you're willing to ask the question and sit quietly and listen to the answer, that will require an action on your part, because you do believe you are a physical body in time and space. That is why being willing to listen is one thing. Being willing to learn is another thing. But the third part of that is it requires an action, a doing. By the grace of God, you will be given everything required to fulfill that. I guarantee it. And that action will be for more love, for correction, for forgiveness, for the action within your own mind to release from this time and space moment and to allow something brand new to unfold in you. That's the only thing that's important. So the important aspect of this is to awaken to the fact that you are doing this to yourself in a dream. You can awaken, and you will, and you did. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll try and address them in my next podcast. Thanks for being here.
Right, so thank you, Tony, for doing that. It's great to hear him talk. I love it. So we continue. I try to speak as loud and clear as I can. So you see that Tony was sharing that too, about the body. So he uses it in a very specific context. But the thing that I want to do is like how I started to, is like the body as means or end. Like, do you see it as a goal in itself, like an identity, say, image, avatar? Or do you see it as a means to extend yourself as the love that you are, or the instrument that you are? That makes all the difference. So, looking at, actually, I'm bringing it to the point where you see exactly what you're doing with that, with your body, with your ideas about the body, because it is stated so very clearly in the in chapter 8, for instance, like in chapter 1 and 2 also, but in chapter 8 too. So this is then the body as means or end. It's the title of a section in it, and I distilled some basics out of it that I love to share with you. So we can literally in a few steps you actually see, that's so clear. At least that was what was happening to me when I was putting it together. It's like beautiful, beautiful way to express this. So I'm sharing my screen. So the body as means or end. So I'm Here is just a picture of it, just for the refreshing idea of it. I love surfing and I love that, to watch it or to see it. But anyway, that's just form. So what do you believe the body is for? You know, there's everything to do with that. It's like with the question, what do you believe your body is for? What do you believe the body is for? The ego's definitions are childish. And yeah, why actually? Like, okay, we're going to come to that. What do you believe the body is for? It determines how you use it. So the ego believes the body is to attack with. That's the ego that believes that the body is to attack with. It's the only thing the ego knows. It only knows attack. So it's, you could translate attack into possessiveness, wanting something in order to come to an satisfaction or gratification, or getting something that you otherwise wouldn't have, you know, that could be seen as an attack. So even though you might not recognize that right away. So you could say that the human identity, you as a human identity believe the body is to attack with. And it doesn't seem like that mostly immediately in relationships, but it can easily turn to that. Because of the use of the body and the central figure and function of it in your relationships. And the only thing the human identity knows, in fact, is attack. It is the only thing you know. It's attack. It's survival. It is, well, you could say, like, I'm going to step out of this. So, you could say, like, there's a continuous basic drive to survive, survival of the fittest, you know, or I attack, or I'm being, say, eat or be eaten, something like this. It's like a real old idea that you hold about yourself, comparing yourself or recognizing yourself as a body identity instead of the consciousness that you are. So that makes all the difference. So the attack part is then the defense attack mode that your mind is in, that your human mind is in continuously. Like that horizontal layer is doing a lot like that. Like, it's all it does, because it doesn't know anything else. So that's good to know, because now you can recognize that part of your mind where that happens, you know. So, and learn not to identify with it, but recognizing it for what it is. But you have a reason to attack or to defend. And the real push to that is what Tony mentioned too. It's actually fear. It's like, fear is the drive. And fear for what? You could ask, like, fear for what? Well, the fear that you might cease to exist, or the fear that you lack something that you need to take control over, or try to possess, no matter what means is necessary. Trying to achieve the goal of possession, you know, like this, to make sure that you have that. See, that is all attack, every aspect of that. And it doesn't work either. So that's why you can stop doing it, you could say. That's why we're talking about this. In the awakening, you discover there's a whole different way of dealing with everything. That's called the miracle. Like, there's an alternative to every situation that you find yourself in. Using to defend and attack, and using it to defend and attack, and in the next moment, when you experience the miracle, you see your connectedness with your brother. That make you equals, and you could not be lacking anything if you have that given to you. You see your connectedness with your brother. What possibly could you take from him? So that's why it said in the beginning too, it's like, the ego's behavior or the ego's wishes, the ego's drive is childish. Like even yeah, different than that. Like it's childish. It wants something. If it doesn't get it, it will take it. It will take it. It will get it. You will get what you want as a human identity. You will get it, no matter what means you're going to use. So we're all familiar with this. Like now, see, Tony was talking about the impulses from your subconscious that you could say translate as sexual drive, and impulses from above, like a God that wants to bless you and say, give you love on a continuing basis so deeply and so completely, but you insist on like, no, here I am. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want that, and I don't want this. I'm fine. I'm doing okay, kind of attitude. And it takes a lot of work, and it is not successful at the same time. So, in order not to feel these impulses, you start to numb yourself in one way or the other. And the numbing, like he was talking about, sex, food, yeah, drugs, you name it, any kind of compulsive behavior that you keep yourself busy with in order not to feel these impulses and allow them to connect with one another, say, literally allowing the miracle to come into your situation. So your help is coming from both sides, so to speak. Your help is coming from everywhere, and you insist on, say, maintaining the bubble that you're in for the sake of having it your way. Well, this is where you wake up out of in this. And so I love it to see that clearly. So I'm continuing with my little sharing here, because there's more. So the ego believes the body is to attack with. It will use anything to attack with. So body is great, sure. It's the only thing the ego knows. Okay. Now here's a bit of, you could say, a philosophy. The whole does define the parts, right? The whole does define the parts, but not the other way around. The part defines the whole. But here's something crucial going on with the way that your human identity thinks. So it thinks that the parts define the whole, but that's not true. So we continue with this, and it will be clear in an instant. In perception, like what you do as a human being, you perceive things, the whole is built up from parts. You can see that. Like a body exists from a heart, a liver, a tongue, a couple of arms, some legs, toes, and all this. All parts assemble a body. So in perception, the whole is built from parts. But in knowledge, and this is like your state, your natural state of knowing, knowledge never changes. In perception, everything changes the whole time. Yeah, the parts can change of the body, for instance, just to take the body as an example. Like you can break your leg, you can, whatever, do some surgery, and you don't need one little kidney, you don't need any longer, or who knows what. All this thing, it's like all of that is changing continuously. But in knowledge, it never changes. And there's a reason for that. So knowledge, its constellation is permanent. And see, here's where the miracle comes in too. There is no difference between the whole and the parts where change is possible. there's no difference between the whole and the part where change is impossible, sorry. There's no difference between the whole and the part where change is impossible. And you know this, like we saw this the other day with the fractals. It's like a fractal has a part, but in that part is the whole again, and on and on and on. So this is really something else. It's like the constellation is permanent. It doesn't matter where you look at it. Zoom in on it and you'll see the same. Zoom out of it, you will see the same. All this, continuously. So this is a universal knowledge. Now, Tony was talking about revelation and the miracle. So revelation is an experience of pure love between you and your Creator. That's an individual experience of true love between you and your Creator. It's just for you, you could say. It's just for you. And the miracle is really therefore to recognize that you're one with your brother. So it's in the recognition of your oneness with God. So it's referring, you literally meet one another in wholeness. Suddenly you discover you're whole together, not individual, not having any differences in that sense. No, you recognize something that is totally permanent. It is not changing. It's always there. Okay, so moving. I think just one more. Yeah, I have some things I like to share here. The body. The body exists in a world which seems to contain two voices, which are fighting for its possession. In the constellation, the body seems to be able to shift from one to the other. Health and sickness are suddenly options, right? Health and sickness are suddenly options. The human identities, the egos makes always a fundamental fundamental confusion between means and end. And when you have achieved a goal, an ego goal, it has not satisfied you. So the ego thus forces you to shift from one end to the other so that you will continue to hope it can offer you something. Okay, so the body exists in a world which seems to contain two voices which are fighting for its possession. So which two voices are that? Well, one that believes that the body is, say, an end in itself, and one that is like the means, like anything can be used in order to reach the goal of, say, the continuation of a misidentification. So that sounds a bit difficult if I say it like this. But that's fundamentally what it is. So one of the things then with an achieved ego goal is that it has not satisfied you. And finally you find what you want, finally you got what you want, but then it doesn't seem to satisfy you. But that in itself doesn't stop you from looking for it. And keep looking for it. So you could say, and this I use a lot as my examples, is like, okay, I felt I was living, I was studying, I had my degree, I had my family, I had this, I had that. I did everything that I wanted to do, and still I wanted it all my way, and that in itself was not satisfying at all. And I really got scared, because it's like, now what? I seem to do everything I want, everything, I have everything that I wanted, and now it doesn't satisfy me. How is it possible? Like, what else is there? How can this be overcome, really, like this? And you keep looking for things to make it complete, without questioning in where you're actually trying to look for it. You use your perception. You use your, say, your horizontal way to get what you want, and trying different things in that, and failing at that, and seeing that that doesn't satisfy either. It only makes the chaos bigger, or the defragmentation. Like it becomes more chaotic in every step, until something something shifts, and you stand still for a moment and listen instead of acting, and start to do in a different way, start to come to a different action in the situations that you were before. So when you find yourself, you could say, like, when you find yourself having achieved a goal, like, and you experience dissatisfaction, stay with that. Feel it totally. Don't move from there. Don't try another relationship. Don't try another car, or another house, or another life, or who knows what. Like, come together and give you the experience that you're actually looking for. It is that simple. It is that simple. So that is why there is such thing as A Course in Miracles, and you found it, and you're doing it, and you're reading in it. And this continuously brings you back to the conflict, in fact, that is going on, or the confusion that you can have for just a moment, in thinking that you need to get something from here, from the horizontal. Like, no, this world is over a long time ago. This shop is closed, and you still try to steal stuff out of it. Forget it. And when you forget it, you'll see that there is a perfect communication. You're a whole part of this, of the whole. You're a whole part of the whole. You're inseparable from everything that is. And that is fulfillment itself. And that is you. And that's freedom. So that is the condensed version that I like to share with you today regarding relationship, sexual impulses, miracle impulses, which are really miracle impulses, and looking at the body in a different way. So thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.